Hi, James Jones from the Mid-Pacific ICT Center in San Francisco at our 2012 ICT Educator Conference. And I'm here with Casey O'Brien from the Cyberwatch Center in Maryland and Dan Manson from Cal Poly Pomona, which now has a Cyberwatch-West Center. Is that about right?
That's right.
Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there's something exciting that you've been working on, a National Cyber League. Casey, what's the vision for that?
The vision for the National Cyber League is a regular season / training ground, initially for collegiate students to practice and hone cybersecurity skills in both individual and team exercises. There are lots of cyber exercises tied to conferences at the high school level, at the collegiate level, at the practitioner level, and many of those exercises are one-off playoff systems. It's a kind of one and done deal, and as folks, Dan and myself and others who are co-founders of the National Cyber League have been running exercises for a number of years, have realized is what really is lacking in the current landscape is this regular season. So that's the overall vision. Founded in 2011, mainly by educators, as a strong partnership between MPICT, yourself, and Cyberwatch-West, which is a newly funded National Science Foundation Advanced Technological Education Center in Mount San Antonio College in Los Angeles, the Center for System Security Information Assurance, or CASIA, in Chicago, and Cyberwatch in Maryland.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, big picture, over the last 25 years or so, there's been this paradigm shift and ICT revolution. This computing technologies, networking, has become pervasive. It's everywhere. Everybody depends on it. It's a mission critical part of every organization. And as that happens, protecting that information from loss or theft becomes more and more important. So that's the area of security, and securing these systems so that they're only used for what they're intended is really important. So there's catastrophic stories of, theft and collapse and credit card numbers getting stolen and all of that. So we need to develop a workforce that can secure these systems. One of the ways to do that is to teach in the classroom. Another is to make it more fun and exciting, to compete, to put teams together that defend real systems from attack by hackers and others. Those competitions are fun, they're successful, they're tried and true. The vision for the National Cyber League is to basically do practice, layups, ongoing exercise on a weekly basis that prepare you for high-level competition.
That's correct.
Right. This is a hands-on skill that we need. We need cybersecurity professionals that can do things, not just that have read about them. And in these team competitions, they learn cybersecurity in a simulated real-world environment. When we run the physical competitions, we run them for 3 days. And the kids who run the competitions tell us they learn more in those 3 days than in a year's worth of traditional classrooms experience. So what we want to do is have that be an ongoing activity for these students. We want to have shorter competitions, but we want them on a more regular basis. 6-hour competitions every weekend. Run it just like a football season, where we have teams of students, instead of preparing for months for a one-time event and only the winner gets to advance, every week every team gets to play and they all go up a learning curve together. So if the teams aren't doing well the first few weeks of the season, they're going to get better by the end of the season. All of them are going to get tremendous hands-on experience.
And I guess there's a lot of fun, cool stories. You had a whole team that got hired out of a competition, is that right?
Right. We like to do some interesting things with our competition. So the second year we ran it, we went 24 hours straight. The winning team from our regional went to nationals and finished 4th. The team came back, and Boeing, the Boeing Corporation, said, we want to interview your team, not who are the best people that we can talk to. We want to talk to your team. They interviewed the team, they made an offer to the team to work together at Boeing in cybersecurity. So they saw the value of what they learned as a team.
Yeah, there are other really good stories of industry involvement. So the competition Dan's talking about is the Collegiate Cyber Defense competition. Dan runs the Western region, I run the Mid-Atlantic region, and in the past couple of years we've seen increased involvement by industry folk, primarily because they see these competitions as a place to recruit the best and brightest in the regions in information security at all academic levels, well, at least within the 2 and 4 year space, but at all levels, technical levels. And so many of these organizations have partnered with us and pay, various fees to get access to these students. And these competitions have evolved beyond just a competition. So, for example, in the Mid-Atlantic region, it's become really a whole event around the competition, a way for us to bring various stakeholders together. So we have a whole K-12 expo and college fair that draws guidance counselors and parents and teachers for one day to come to the event and see the students competing face to face, right? But also then expose them to breakout sessions and hands-on demonstrations and bring colleges. We have a guest speaker symposium that takes place an entire day, 20 plus guest speakers. We use the infrastructure itself as a data collection tool. So, for example, last year we had sociology professors from a 4-year university in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, actually design a scenario where we told the students there was a physical break-in the previous night, and we captured faces on cameras, and we needed the students to come and do facial recognition of if they could ID these people. And it actually was helping the sociology professors, who had nothing to do with cybersecurity, do research in facial recognition testing. And so a data collection engine and all these various other components that you can hang off a competition that provide learning above and beyond just the event itself. And that's a big piece to the NCL that we're really committed to, which is that educational piece. We really want this to be an educational exercise first, gaming exercise second, and toward that goal, a big piece that I think separates the NCL from many of the other exercises is the individual nature. You called it I think you said shooting layups, right? It's the conditioning. It's the student working individually, accessing exercises in what we call virtual stadiums spread throughout the United States, honing their skill, being assessed on their performance, and then continuing that loop. And some of those students may choose not to actually compete in a team exercise, and some may actually choose to do that. It allows us to do interesting things with the league, like handicapping, and start developing player statistics. So who are the best, quarterbacks, if you will, but within the job roles defined in the league? Who are the best at doing web application pen testing? Who are the best at Windows hardening? And really start to measure performance linked to educational objectives, external standards, etc.
I'd like to come back to something you said in just a second, but one of the things that I understand you've done is to put community college teams up against teams from top-notch schools, and the community college teams beat them up. That's particularly satisfying, I guess.
It's very exciting. Yeah, in 2008, the Community College of Baltimore County won the Mid-Atlantic Regional Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition, and it actually wasn't even really close. And they were the first community college in the country to qualify then for the National Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. And when we had our founding meeting for the National Cyber League in May at George Washington University in D.C., we initially envisioned the National Cyber League as geared just for community colleges. So, there's some discussions within the collegiate gaming or collegiate cyber exercise space about stratifying the CCDC, so akin to a Division I, Division II, Division III model. And we thought that the NCL might be able to have a sweet spot, geared towards having exercises geared towards just the community colleges. But what we found when we talked to community college students who had participated in the collegiate cyber defense competitions was that they actually felt like, one, that they could compete against the four-year schools, and two, they actually really enjoyed doing that and being able to beat them.
There are things we can do in the NCL, though, to encourage community colleges to participate, because the National Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition has some very strict rules on eligibility for the competition. For example, you have to be a full-time student. In NCL, we're going to create the rules, so we're going to have more flexibility and make it more inclusive to encourage community colleges to participate.
That's a good point.
So one of the important things you said a second ago, Casey, relates to scale. So these tournament competition environments are labor intensive. You have to come and set up a lab and harden it and rig up your scenarios and supervise that. People have to physically travel. One of the really cool things about the National Cyber League is that the regular season play can happen from anywhere in a hosted, remotely accessible lab environment. And I guess there would be 3 of those, one for each of the divisions across the country. Can you describe those?
Sure. We're starting off with a Western Division, a Midwest Division, and an Eastern Division. 24 teams, 8 teams from each division. This is our pilot season. And the advantage of the direction we're going in is when we run the physical head-to-heads, they're expensive, they're time-consuming, a lot of logistical issues. When we run virtual competitions, we take away most of those issues. We can run virtual competitions at a much lower cost with much less concern about logistics and hardware.
That being said, and by the way, we're calling these virtual stadiums. We've got right now 5 virtual stadiums, and we hope within the next 18 months to have upwards of 50. So the scale is really endless. But there is nothing that compares with a face-to-face gaming exercise, and the National Cyber League will not get away from face-to-face competitions. In fact, the NCL Championship, which will be June 10th at the Colloquium for Information Systems Security Education Conference in Orlando this summer, will be 2 teams going head-to-head. And there's something about bringing the students together in a room where they see professional hackers, they see each other equally getting crushed and sweating and stressing out, and the energy of that environment. So while face-to-face gaming exercises definitely are in some instances cost prohibitive and don't scale well, there's really no replacement for them from an educational community perspective.
But that's the culmination.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So this is a really exciting idea and vision over the long term. I guess what we're in right now is kind of a pilot phase where we're going to do some of this in the spring. We're going to test the remote access, the stadiums. We're going to run some of the weekly activities. We're going to evaluate those, make sure they're working for everybody. We're going to have, a culminating experience. We're going to get testimonials. We're going to kick the tires and make this better. So in the long run, big idea with lots of cool prospects. And in the shorter run, we're testing and developing and preparing for the future.
It's a good synopsis.
right.
So the exercises, and I'll let Dan talk about the specifics, but primarily the 6-week season is really going to test both the virtual stadium's capability to deliver individual exercises as well as the virtual stadium's capability in delivering team exercises, head-to-head competitions around really 3 cyber exercise components. Capture the flag, or a combination of offense and defense. I inherit systems, I defend them, but I also get to hack into other systems at the same time. Traditional digital and network forensics. So an incident has happened, somebody's compromised a system, find out when that perpetrator got in, how long they were in, how they got in, what they get, how do we fix it, and then defense only. So I inherit a system and I protect it. I don't get to hack back.
And a really cool thing about what we're doing is that the competitions that go on today, they do a good job in one of those areas. but we are able to, in the course of a season, to cover all of them. So we're going to have a very broad range of competitions and exercises and learning for these students that participate.
Wow.
That's an important point, because we really don't see ourselves as a competitor to any of the other exercises. In fact, we feel like the idea of a regular season or an ongoing training ground will in fact make students at all academic and professional levels more competitive in the environment, in the gaming exercises or cyber exercises that do exist.
The teams that go through our NCL are going to go on to these competitions. They'll go on to a DC3 Forensics or CCDC, and they'll be much better.
Wow. Exciting idea and cool pilot. So if somebody's interested in following this story, is there a website, or how could they connect with you or just find out more?
So we have a beta version of a website up. It's nationalcyberleague.org. People can contact me, Casey O'Brien, cobrien@cyberwatchcenter.org. Initially, the focus right now for the website, for our partnerships, for any industry, academic folks that want to get involved in building this from the ground up, is really focused on the pilot, and then getting through the pilot, which will be April 20th through June 20th, and then beyond that we'll take the lessons learned and then build a, if you will, I guess, a beta regular season. So the pilots really are alpha, and we look, depending on the successes and lessons learned from the pilot, we look to implement that fall 2012.
Great. So pilot, build, test, improve, that's going on now. That's kind of a behind closed doors thing. There'll be a few teams involved with this, but longer run, we expect lots of opportunities for engagement from business sponsors, people who want to help develop fun scenarios, people who want to provide or host competitions, provide environments where
There are going to be a lot of opportunities in the future for schools that want to be in the NCL, for companies that want to identify talent through the NCL and want to help us through sponsorship.
more to come. Thanks, guys.
Thank
This is
you,
fun.
James. Appreciate
Exciting.
it.